The little girl stood at the front of the classroom, her small shoulders shaking as tears rolled down her brown cheeks. Her worn sneakers, held together with tape, seemed to glow under the harsh fluorescent lights as 20 pairs of eyes stared at her. The teacher's voice cut through the air like ice. "Class, this is what happens when people don't take care of their belongings. Look at those shoes. Look at that stained dress. Is this acceptable?" The child's lips trembled as she tried to speak, but only a sob came out. Her hands clutched the hem of her faded purple dress, the one she wore every other day because it was one of only 3 dresses she owned. The other children shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some looked away. Others whispered to each other. "I asked you a question, Amara," the teacher continued, her arms crossed over her chest. "Why do you come to school looking like this? Don't you have any pride?" I'm sorry," the little girl whispered, her voice barely audible. "Speak up. I can't hear you." "I said I'm sorry." This time her voice cracked and fresh tears spilled over. The teacher sighed dramatically. "Sorry doesn't fix anything. You need to go home and tell your guardian that this is unacceptable. You're setting a poor example for the other students." At the back of the classroom, standing in the doorway that the teacher hadn't noticed was open, a tall man in a navy suit felt his jaw clench. His hands curled into fists at his sides, and his heart pounded with an anger he hadn't felt in years. Adrien Carter had walked into Riverside Elementary 15 minutes ago as part of a routine check for his foundation's education program. He'd been touring the building with the principal when he heard crying coming from this classroom. What he witnessed through that open door would change 3 lives forever. He watched as a young woman in a bright red cardigan rushed into the room from a side door. She was beautiful, with kind eyes and natural hair pulled back in a neat bun. She went straight to the crying child and knelt beside her. "Mrs. Patterson, I'll take Amara to wash her face," the young woman said firmly, her voice steady despite the obvious tension in the room. "Fine. Get her out of my sight," the teacher responded, waving her hand dismissively. Adrien stepped fully into the doorway and his presence filled the room. Every eye turned to him, including the teacher's, which widened in recognition. "What exactly is going on here?" His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "Have you ever witnessed injustice and felt powerless to stop it? Have you ever seen a child's spirit being crushed right before your eyes? This story shows what happens when one person decides to step in and change everything. If you believe in the power of kindness and want to see how this moment transforms lives, please subscribe and comment below with your thoughts on what should happen next." Adrien Carter hadn't planned to visit Riverside Elementary that Tuesday morning. His assistant had scheduled it for the following week, but something had pulled him there early. At 35, he'd built a technology empire worth billions, but his real passion was his education foundation. He'd grown up poor, raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs to keep him fed and in school. He knew what it meant to struggle and he'd never forgotten. The principal, Mrs. Henderson, had been surprised to see him walk through the front doors at 9 in the morning. She'd quickly composed herself and offered to show him around, chattering nervously about test scores and new programs. Adrien had only half listened, his attention drawn to the sounds and sights of children learning. Then he'd heard the crying. Now, standing in Mrs. Patterson's classroom, he watched as the young woman in the red cardigan gently guided the sobbing child toward the door. The little girl's face was streaked with tears, and she kept her eyes down as if trying to disappear. "Mr. Carter," Mrs. Henderson said quickly, moving to stand beside him. "I didn't realize you were touring this wing. Mrs. Patterson is one of our senior teachers." "I can see that," Adrien said, his gaze fixed on the teacher. "Mrs. Henderson, could I speak with you privately?" "Now." The principal's face paled. "Of course. Mrs. Patterson, please continue with your lesson." Adrien followed Mrs. Henderson into the hallway, where the young woman was kneeling beside the crying child, speaking to her in soft, comforting tones. He caught fragments of the conversation. "It's okay, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. But my shoes, everyone was looking. Your shoes are just fine. They're clean and they're on your feet and that's what matters." Adrien's chest tightened. The young woman looked up and met his eyes and something passed between them. Understanding. Shared anger at the injustice. A mutual desire to protect this child. "Mrs. Henderson," Adrien said, turning to the principal, "I need to know what I just witnessed." The principal wrung her hands. "Mr. Carter, I assure you that we maintain high standards here. Sometimes teachers need to address issues of presentation with students. That wasn't addressing an issue. That was humiliation." His voice remained level but his eyes were hard. That teacher deliberately embarrassed a child in front of her entire class for something the child clearly has no control over. I wasn't aware of the specific situation. Then let me make you aware. Adrien pulled out his phone. I'm calling my foundation's legal team. That teacher will be suspended immediately, pending a full investigation. And I want to speak with that child's guardian. Mrs. Henderson's eyes widened. Mr. Carter, perhaps we can handle this internally. No. This stops now. He looked back toward where the young woman still comforted the child. Who is that? That's Camille Johnson. She's a teacher's aide and, actually, she's Amara's older sister. She's the girl's guardian. Adrien felt something shift in his chest. The young woman wasn't just a kind teacher. She was family protecting her own. He walked over to them. Excuse me, Ms. Johnson? My name is Adrien Carter. Could I speak with you for a moment? Camille looked up at him, her brown eyes wary but not afraid. She kept one arm around Amara. What do you need? I saw what happened in that classroom. I want to help. We don't need charity, Camille said quietly, but there was a tremor in her voice that betrayed her exhaustion. Adrien knelt down so he was at eye level with both of them. He addressed Amara first. Hi Amara. My name is Adrien. I'm very sorry about what happened to you. That teacher was wrong. There's nothing wrong with your shoes or your dress. You look just fine. Amara sniffled and looked at him with wide, uncertain eyes. Really? Really? He turned to Camille. Ms. Johnson, I run a foundation that helps schools and families. What happened in that classroom is exactly the kind of thing my organization exists to prevent. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering support that you and your sister deserve. Will you let me help? Camille's jaw tightened. I work 3 jobs, Mr. Carter. I take care of my sister. We manage. I'm sure you do. But you shouldn't have to do it alone. He kept his voice gentle. I'm going to make sure that teacher is held accountable. And I'd like to provide resources for Amara, tutoring if she needs it, counseling to help her process what just happened, and anything else that would make her life easier. Please, let me do this. Camille looked down at Amara, whose tear-stained face had brightened with a small glimmer of hope. That hope made Camille's decision. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Thank you. Adrien felt relief wash over him. Thank you for trusting me. Can we exchange contact information? I'll have my team reach out today to get things started. As Camille pulled out her phone with shaking hands, Adrien made a silent promise. He would make sure this little girl never felt ashamed again. And he would do everything in his power to help the sister who was clearly sacrificing everything to raise her. What he didn't know was that this moment would become the most important of his life. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Adrien met with Mrs. Henderson and made it clear that Mrs. Patterson would be suspended immediately. He called his foundation's director and arranged for a full review of Riverside Elementary's policies. He also had his team begin putting together a support package for the Johnson sisters. By lunchtime, Mrs. Patterson had been escorted off the premises, and Adrien had spent 30 minutes in Mrs. Henderson's office ensuring that proper procedures would be followed. When he finally left the building, he saw Camille sitting on a bench outside, Amara beside her with a juice box and a sandwich. He walked over. Mind if I sit? Camille gestured to the empty space. It's a public bench. Adrien sat, leaving a respectful distance between them. For a moment, they watched Amara eat her lunch, the little girl's spirits seeming slightly lifted. She's been through a lot, Camille said suddenly. Our parents died 2 years ago. Car accident. I was 24, barely an adult myself. Suddenly I had an 8-year-old to raise. She paused. 6-year-old at the time, I mean. She's 8 now. I'm sorry for your loss, Adrien said quietly. Everyone is. But sorry doesn't pay the bills or put food on the table or buy new shoes when the old ones wear out. Camille's voice wasn't bitter, just tired. I dropped out of college. Started working. I'm a teacher's aide here, I clean offices at night, and I work weekend shifts at a grocery store. We have a small apartment. We manage. You're amazing, Adrien said, and he meant it. Your sister is lucky to have you. Camille's eyes filled with tears and she blinked them away quickly. I'm lucky to have her. She's the best thing in my life. Adrien watched her profile, the strength in her expression despite the exhaustion. My foundation can help with immediate needs. New clothes for Amara, school supplies, whatever you need. We can also set up a scholarship fund for her future education. And if you ever want to go back to college, we have programs for that too. Why? Camille turned to look at him. Why do you care so much? You don't know us. Because I was that kid once, Adrien said simply. Different circumstances, but I know what it's like to feel like you don't belong, to be ashamed of things you can't control. My mother worked herself to exhaustion to give me a chance. Someone helped us along the way, a teacher who paid for my school supplies one year, a neighbor who gave us groceries. Small acts of kindness that made all the difference. I promised myself that if I ever had the means, I'd do the same for others. Camille studied his face, searching for dishonesty and finding none. You really mean that? I really do. She took a deep breath. Then yes, I accept your help. For Amara. She deserves better than what I can give her alone. You're giving her love. That's the most important thing. Adrien smiled. Everything else we can work on together. As he drove away from Riverside Elementary an hour later, Adrien couldn't stop thinking about Camille's eyes, the way she'd looked at her sister with such fierce love. He'd helped hundreds of families through his foundation, but something about this felt different. Personal. He didn't know it yet, but his life had just changed direction entirely. That evening, Adrien sat in his downtown office, the city lights stretching out below his floor-to-ceiling windows. His assistant, Patricia, had left for the day, but he remained, reviewing the files his team had compiled on Riverside Elementary and the Johnson family. Camille Johnson, age 26. Parents deceased. Legal guardian of Amara Johnson, age 8. 3 jobs. No outstanding debts, somehow, though her bank balance rarely went above $300. Rent paid on time every month. Amara's school records showed good grades despite obvious challenges. No disciplinary issues. The picture that emerged was of a young woman holding everything together through sheer force of will. Adrien's phone rang. It was his foundation director, Margaret Chin. I've reviewed the situation at Riverside Elementary, Margaret said. Mrs. Patterson has a history of complaints, apparently. Nothing this severe, but patterns of favoritism and harsh treatment of students from lower-income families. The principal swept it under the rug. Not anymore, Adrien said firmly. I want a full investigation. And I want Mrs. Henderson replaced if she knew about this and did nothing. Already in motion. What about the Johnson family? Priority case. Whatever they need, Margaret. I want Amara to have everything she requires to thrive. Clothes, school supplies, tutoring, counseling. And I want to set up a meeting with Camille to discuss longer-term support. There was a pause on the other end. Adrien, you know we help a lot of families. What makes this one so personal? Adrien thought about Camille's face, the way she'd held her sister, the exhaustion and love in her eyes. I saw something today that reminded me why I do this. I want to make sure this family gets the support they deserve. Understood. I'll have everything ready by tomorrow. After the call ended, Adrien sat in the silence of his office, the city humming below. He'd built an empire, donated millions to charity, and created programs that helped thousands. But somehow, helping one little girl and her sister felt more important than all of it. He thought about Camille's question. Why did he care so much? The answer was simple. Because when he looked at Amara, he saw himself at that age. And when he looked at Camille, he saw his mother, sacrificing everything for someone she loved. And maybe, though he barely admitted it to himself, when he looked at Camille, he saw something else. Someone strong, beautiful, and real in a way that his usual social circle wasn't. But that was a thought for another time. For now he had work to do. Adrien pulled out his phone and sent a text to Camille. Hi, this is Adrien Carter. I hope it's okay that I'm reaching out. My team will contact you tomorrow about setting up the support we discussed. I also wanted to check in and see how Amara is doing after today. The response came a few minutes later. She's okay. Shaken up, but okay. Thank you for what you did. I've been trying to get that teacher reported for months, but no one would listen. They're listening now, Adrien typed back. Get some rest. Tomorrow is a new beginning. He stared at the words on his screen for a long moment before adding, for all of us. By 10 o'clock the next morning, Mrs. Patterson's employment at Riverside Elementary had been officially terminated. Adrien stood in Mrs. Henderson's office with 2 lawyers from his foundation and made it clear that the school district had 2 choices. Implement immediate reforms and accept oversight from his foundation, or face a very public lawsuit that would expose the systemic failures that had allowed a teacher to abuse students for years. Mrs. Henderson chose reform. We'll be installing a new reporting system, Adrien explained, his voice firm but not cruel. Anonymous hotlines for students, parents, and staff. Monthly reviews of teacher conduct. And mandatory training on equity and inclusion for all staff members. That seems extensive, Mrs. Henderson said weakly. It's necessary. If you'd handled the complaints about Mrs. Patterson when they first came in, we wouldn't be here. Adrien softened his tone slightly. I'm not trying to destroy this school. I want to make it better. Will you work with me? The principal nodded slowly. Yes, you're right. I should have done more. Then let's move forward. Adrien stood. My team will be here next week to begin the assessment. In the meantime, I want Amara Johnson moved to a different classroom with a teacher who understands what she's been through. Of course. I've already arranged for her to join Mr. Franklin's class. He's excellent with students who need extra support. As Adrien left the office, he saw Camille walking down the hallway with a box of supplies. She wore a blue dress today, simple but pretty, and her hair was down in natural curls that framed her face. She looked exhausted but determined. Miss Johnson, he called out. She turned and offered a small smile. Mr. Carter. I heard about Mrs. Patterson. News travels fast. In a school this size? Always. She shifted the box in her arms. Thank you. Really. Amara slept better last night than she has in weeks. I'm glad. Adrien moved closer. Do you have a minute? I'd like to talk about the support program we discussed. Camille glanced at her watch. I have 10 minutes before I need to be in the library. Walk with me. They fell into step together, moving through the hallways of Riverside Elementary. Children rushed past, heading to their next classes, their voices echoing off the walls. My team has put together a preliminary package, Adrien said. Immediate needs first: clothes, shoes, school supplies for Amara. We'd also like to arrange for counseling, someone Amara can talk to about what happened and about losing your parents. Camille's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. That would be good. She doesn't talk about our parents much. I think she's trying to be strong for me. Kids shouldn't have to be strong. They should get to be kids. Adrien paused. We'd also like to set up a college fund for her. Nothing she needs to worry about now, but when the time comes, the money will be there. That's too much, Camille said, but her voice lacked conviction. It's not. And there's more. Adrien took a breath. I know you work 3 jobs. What if you could reduce that to 1? What if you had time to breathe, to be with Amara, maybe even go back to school yourself? Camille stopped walking. Mr. Carter, I can't just quit my jobs. We need that money to survive. What if my foundation provided a stipend? Enough to cover your expenses while you focus on being a full-time student and a sister. We have programs specifically for people in your situation. Why? Camille asked, and there was frustration in her voice now. Why are you doing all this? You don't know us. We're nobody to you. Adrien met her eyes. You're not nobody. You're a young woman who's been dealt an incredibly difficult hand and is doing everything humanly possible to take care of someone you love. That's not nobody. That's a hero. Camille let out a shaky breath. I'm not a hero. I'm just trying to survive. Let me help you do more than survive. Let me help you thrive. Adrien's voice was gentle. I know it's hard to accept help. I know it feels like charity. But it's not. It's investment in potential. Your potential. Amara's potential. And honestly, it would mean a lot to me personally to see you both succeed. Camille studied his face for a long moment. What's in it for you? Peace of mind. The knowledge that I'm making a real difference. And maybe, he hesitated. Maybe a friendship. I don't have many people in my life who understand what it means to struggle. Most of my friends grew up rich. They're good people, but they don't get it. You do. Something in Camille's expression softened. A friendship. If you're open to it. She laughed, a small, surprised sound. The billionaire wants to be friends with the broke teacher's aide? The person wants to be friends with another person. The rest is just details. Camille shifted the box again, thinking. Finally she nodded. Okay. Yes. I accept your help. All of it. And yes, I'm open to friendship. But I need you to understand something. What's that? I won't let Amara get hurt. If this is some kind of publicity stunt, if you're going to disappear in a few weeks when the novelty wears off, tell me now. Because I can handle disappointment. She can't. Not again. Adrien's expression grew serious. I give you my word. I'm in this for the long haul. I won't disappear. Okay then. Camille smiled and it transformed her face. Friends. They shook hands and Adrien felt a warmth spread through his chest. This was right. This was exactly where he was supposed to be. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of activity. Adrien's foundation team descended on Riverside Elementary, conducting interviews, reviewing policies, and implementing changes. Adrien himself visited daily, ostensibly to oversee the process, but really because he couldn't stay away. He found himself looking for Camille in the hallways, timing his visits to coincide with her breaks. They'd talk for 10 or 15 minutes, conversations that ranged from education policy to their favorite books to childhood memories. With each conversation, Adrien felt himself drawn deeper into her orbit. Camille, for her part, found herself looking forward to these moments. Adrien was different from anyone she'd met before. Yes, he was rich and powerful, but he was also kind, genuinely interested in her thoughts, and funny in a self-deprecating way that surprised her. He didn't talk down to her or make her feel small. He treated her like an equal. On Friday afternoon, Adrien's team delivered the first round of support. Boxes of clothes for Amara, all in bright colors, new shoes, a backpack full of supplies and books. Lots of books. When Camille saw it all laid out in the school's conference room, she burst into tears. "This is too much," she said, but she was smiling through the tears. "It's just the beginning," Adrien said softly. He'd been waiting in the room when she arrived, wanting to see her reaction. "There's also a check from the foundation. 3 months of living expenses so you can quit 2 of your jobs. Use the time to rest, to be with Amara, and to think about what you want for your future." Camille looked at the check and felt her knees go weak. It was more money than she'd ever seen in one place. "Adrien, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll accept it with gratitude like you promised." She laughed through her tears. "I accept it with gratitude. So much gratitude." "Good." He smiled. "Now I have one more thing. I've arranged for a therapist to meet with Amara next week. Her name is Dr. Williams, and she specializes in childhood trauma and grief. Amara can see her as often as needed, all covered by the foundation." Camille set the check down and walked over to Adrien. Without thinking, she hugged him. It was brief, lasting only a few seconds, but when she pulled back, both of them felt the weight of the moment. "Thank you," Camille whispered. "You're changing our lives." Adrien's heart pounded in his chest. "You're very welcome." That evening, Camille took Amara shopping with part of the money. They went to a department store, and Camille let her sister pick out whatever she wanted. Amara's eyes grew wide with wonder as she selected dresses in green and red, pants that actually fit, and shoes that were brand new and didn't hurt her feet. "Can I really have all this?" Amara asked, clutching a stuffed animal she'd found. "You can have all of it and more," Camille said, her heart full. "Mr. Carter made sure of it." "Mr. Carter is nice," Amara said thoughtfully. "He's like a superhero but without a cape." Camille laughed. "Yeah, he kind of is." As they loaded their shopping bags into their old car, Amara looked up at her sister. "Camille, are we going to be okay now?" Camille knelt down and pulled her sister into a hug. "Yeah, baby. We're going to be more than okay. We're going to be great." For the first time in 2 years, Camille believed it. That night, after Amara was asleep in her new pajamas, Camille sat on their small couch and looked around their apartment. It was tiny, barely more than a box, but it was clean and it was theirs. On the coffee table sat the stack of papers Adrien's team had given her. Information about the Foundation's scholarship program, details about the therapy sessions, and forms to fill out if she wanted to go back to school. She picked up the school information and read through it. The Foundation would pay for tuition, books, and provide a living stipend while she completed her degree. She could finally finish what she'd started, get her teaching certificate, and build a real career. Felt like a dream. But it was real. Adrien had made it real. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrien. "I hope the shopping trip went well. Sleep well and I'll see you Monday." Camille smiled and typed back, "It was perfect. Thank you for everything. Good night." She stared at the screen for a moment, then added, "You really are a superhero without a cape." His response came quickly, "If I'm a superhero, you're the real hero. What you've done for Amara is incredible." Camille's heart fluttered strangely. She told herself it was just gratitude, just appreciation for someone who'd helped them. It couldn't be anything else. Could it? She set the phone down and went to check on Amara one more time. Her sister was fast asleep, hugging the new stuffed animal, a smile on her face even in dreams. Camille kissed her forehead and whispered, "We're going to be okay, baby. I promise." And for the first time she had the resources to make that promise come true. 3 weeks after Adrien's first visit to Riverside Elementary, the school was transformed. New policies were in place, teachers had completed sensitivity training, and a student advocate had been hired to ensure every child's voice was heard. The changes rippled through the building, creating an atmosphere of hope that hadn't existed before. Adrien walked through the hallways on a Monday morning, noting the improvements with satisfaction. Fresh paint brightened the walls, new books filled the library, and he'd arranged for updated computers in every classroom. But more than the physical changes, he noticed the shift in energy. Students smiled more. Teachers engaged more thoughtfully. Even Mrs. Henderson had stepped up, embracing the reforms with genuine commitment. He found Camille in the library helping a group of second graders with their reading. She wore a green blouse today, and her hair was pulled back with a colorful scarf. She looked different than she had 3 weeks ago. Lighter somehow. Less burdened. She saw him and smiled, holding up one finger to indicate she needed a moment. He nodded and browsed the shelves, picking up a children's book about space exploration. When the students had returned to their classroom, Camille walked over. Adrien, this is a nice surprise. I thought you were busy at your company today. I had a meeting downtown, so I thought I'd stop by. He held up the book. This is good. Educational and fun. The foundation should buy more like it. Already on the list, Camille said with a grin. Your team has been incredible. The kids love all the new books. How's Amara doing? So much better. She saw Dr. Williams twice last week and I can already see a difference. She's talking more, laughing more. She even made a new friend in Mr. Franklin's class. Camille's eyes were bright with happiness. You did that. You gave her back her childhood. Adrien felt warmth spread through his chest. You did that. You're the one who's there every day, loving her, supporting her. With your help, Camille insisted. Adrien, I quit my night job and my weekend job. I'm down to just working here at the school. I have time to cook real dinners now. I have time to help Amara with homework without falling asleep. I have time to breathe. Do you know what that's like after 2 years of running on empty? I'm so glad. He meant it with every fiber of his being. Camille looked around to make sure they were alone, then said quietly, I enrolled in classes. At the community college. 2 nights a week. I start next month. Adrien's face broke into a huge smile. Camille, that's wonderful. I wouldn't be able to do it without the foundation's support. Without your support. She met his eyes. I know I keep thanking you, but I don't think you understand how much this means. I think I do. And I'm honored to be part of your journey. They stood there for a moment, the library quiet around them, something unspoken passing between them. It was Camille who looked away first, clearing her throat. I should get back to work. But hey, the foundation is hosting a community event this weekend at your center, right? Amara and I were thinking about going. You should definitely come. Adrien tried to keep his voice casual, but his heart had sped up. It's just a fun day for families. Games, food, activities. Nothing formal. Sounds perfect. We'll be there. Great. I'll see you then. As Adrien left the library, he felt like a teenager with a crush. Which was ridiculous. He was a 35-year-old man who ran a billion-dollar company. He didn't get nervous about seeing people. But something about Camille made him feel off balance in the best possible way. Saturday arrived with clear blue skies and warm sunshine. Adrien arrived at the community center early, overseeing the setup with his usual attention to detail. There were bounce houses for the kids, food trucks serving everything from tacos to ice cream, and activity stations where families could do crafts together. When Camille and Amara arrived around noon, Adrien spotted them immediately. Camille wore a simple red sundress that made her look radiant, and Amara was in new jeans and a bright yellow shirt, practically glowing with excitement. Adrien? Amara called out, running over to him. This place is amazing. He knelt down to her level. I'm so glad you like it. You should check out the bounce houses. And there's face painting, and later we're going to have a magic show. Really? Can I go? She looked up at Camille. Of course. Go have fun. Stay where I can see you. Amara raced off toward the nearest bounce house, leaving Adrien and Camille standing together in the sunshine. She's a different kid, Adrien observed. She really is. She's been sleeping through the night, eating better, even her grades have improved. Camille watched her sister bounce happily. You gave her that. We gave her that. You, me, Dr. Williams, Mr. Franklin. It takes a village, right? Camille turned to look at him. You really believe that, don't you? That it's not just about money, it's about community. I do. Money helps, obviously. But without people who care, it's just paper. He gestured toward the center. This place, all these programs, they only work because people show up. Because they invest time and energy and love. You're different than I expected, Camille said softly. When I first met you, I thought you'd be arrogant, maybe condescending. But you're not. You're real. Adrien felt his pulse quicken. I hope that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. They spent the afternoon together, watching Amara play, eating lunch from the food trucks, and talking about everything and nothing. Adrien learned that Camille loved mystery novels and terrible reality TV. She learned that Adrien had wanted to be a teacher before he'd stumbled into technology, and that he still tutored kids on weekends when he had time. At one point, they sat on a bench watching Amara get her face painted like a butterfly, and Camille said, "Can I ask you something personal?" "Of course. Why don't you have a family? Someone like you, I would have thought you'd be married with kids by now." Adrien was quiet for a moment. "I was engaged once about 5 years ago. Her name was Rebecca. She was smart, successful, beautiful. Everything looked perfect on paper. What happened? I realized we wanted different things. She wanted the lifestyle, the parties, the image. I wanted this." He gestured at the families around them. "I wanted to build something meaningful. We broke up 6 months before the wedding. It was mutual, but it still hurt." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was the right decision. I just haven't found the right person since then." He looked at her. "What about you? Has there been anyone since your parents passed?" Camille laughed, but there was sadness in it. "When would I have had time? I wake up at 5, work until midnight, collapse into bed and do it all again. There's no room for dating in a schedule like that. But you have time now." "I do." She met his eyes and something electric passed between them. "Hypothetically." "Hypothetically," Adrien echoed, his voice slightly rough. The moment was broken by Amara running over, her face painted with colorful butterfly wings. Look, I'm a butterfly." "You're a beautiful butterfly," Camille said, pulling her sister into a hug. "The most beautiful butterfly in the whole world." As the sun began to set, families started to leave. Amara had worn herself out and was dozing against Camille's shoulder as they walked toward the parking lot. "Thank you for inviting us," Camille said. "This was exactly what we needed. Thank you for coming." Adrien walked with them to their car. "Same time next week? The foundation does this every Saturday through the summer. We'll be here." After they drove away, Adrien stood in the parking lot, watching their taillights disappear. His assistant, Patricia, walked over with a knowing smile. "You like her?" Adrien didn't bother denying it. "Yeah, I really do. She seems great. Different from your usual type." "She's not a type. She's just Camille." He turned to his assistant. "Is it crazy that I can't stop thinking about her?" "It's not crazy. It's called falling in love, Adrien. Most people think it's a good thing." Well, the word hung in the air. Adrien had never believed in love at first sight, but maybe it was love at first conversation. Love at first moment of shared understanding. Whatever it was real and it was growing stronger every day. The following week, Adrien found reasons to visit Riverside Elementary every day. He'd check on the new computers in the morning, review the lunch program at noon, and somehow always end up in the library where Camille worked in the afternoon. On Wednesday he brought coffee. "You remembered I like vanilla lattes," Camille said, surprised. "You mentioned it once. I have a good memory for details." They sat in the library during Camille's break, talking about her upcoming classes and Amara's progress. The conversation flowed easily, naturally, like they'd known each other for years instead of weeks. "I'm nervous about going back to school," Camille admitted. "It's been so long. What if I can't keep up?" "You'll be fine. You're one of the smartest people I know." "You barely know me." "I know enough. I know you raised a child by yourself while working 3 jobs. I know you never gave up even when things were impossibly hard. That takes intelligence and strength most people don't have." Camille blushed. "You're good at this." "At what?" "Making people feel good about themselves. Is it a billionaire skill they teach in business school?" Adrien laughed. "No, it's just being honest. I only say what I believe is true." "Then I believe you're a good man, Adrien Carter. One of the best I've met." Their eyes held for a long moment, and Adrien felt the world narrow to just the two of them. He wanted to reach out and take her hand, to tell her that he thought about her constantly, that she'd become the best part of his days. But he held back. It was too soon. He didn't want to rush this or risk scaring her away. "I should get back to work," Camille said softly, breaking the spell. "Right. Yes. Me too." Adrien stood, then hesitated. "Camille, would you and Amara want to have dinner sometime? Nothing formal, just as friends. There's a great family restaurant downtown." Camille's smile was bright and genuine. "We'd love that." "This weekend?" "Perfect." As Adrien walked out of the library, he felt like he was floating. A dinner. With Camille and Amara. It was just a friendly meal, nothing more. But it felt like everything. That night, lying in bed in his penthouse apartment, Adrien stared at the ceiling and thought about the path his life had taken. 3 weeks ago he'd been going through the motions, running his company, managing his foundation, but feeling disconnected from it all. Then he'd walked into a classroom and seen a little girl crying. And now his entire world had shifted. He thought about Camille's smile, the way she tilted her head when she was thinking, the fierce love in her eyes when she looked at Amara. He thought about how natural it felt to talk to her, how she didn't treat him like a celebrity or a bank account, just like a person. For the first time in years, Adrien felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Saturday evening arrived with Adrien more nervous than he'd been before any business deal. He'd chosen a family-friendly Italian restaurant known for its welcoming atmosphere and excellent food. He'd arrived early, checking the reservation 3 times and adjusting his navy shirt collar more than necessary. When Camille and Amara walked in, Adrien's breath caught. Camille wore a simple red dress that brought out the warmth in her brown skin, and Amara was in a new green outfit with her hair styled in neat braids with colorful beads. "You both look beautiful," Adrien said, standing to greet them. "Thank you," Camille said, her smile shy but genuine. "You clean up pretty nice yourself." Amara grabbed Adrien's hand. "Can I sit next to you?" "Of course." His heart melted at the casual trust. They settled into a corner booth, and for the next 2 hours, Adrien experienced something he'd never had before, the feeling of family. They ordered pasta and pizza, shared stories, and laughed until Amara got the hiccups from giggling too hard at one of Adrien's terrible jokes. "Tell me about your company," Camille said as they waited for dessert. "I know you do technology, but what exactly?" "We develop software for educational institutions, actually. Programs that help teachers track student progress, identify kids who might be falling behind, things like that. The idea is to use technology to make education more equitable." Camille's eyes lit up. "That's incredible. So your work and your foundation are aligned." "They always have been. I built the company because I wanted to change education, but I knew I needed resources to make real change. The foundation is where my heart is, but the company funds it all." "You really care about kids," Amara said, looking up at him with wide eyes. "I do. Every kid deserves a chance to succeed, no matter where they come from or how much money their parents have." "That's what Camille says too." Amara grinned. "You two think the same about lots of stuff." Camille and Adrien exchanged a look, and something unspoken passed between them. The recognition that yes, they did think alike. That their values aligned in ways that felt rare and precious. After dinner, they walked through the nearby park, Amara running ahead to look at the fountain while Adrien and Camille followed at a slower pace. "Thank you for dinner," Camille said. "That was the nicest meal we've had in 2 years." "It was my pleasure. Truly." Adrien paused, then took a leap. "Camille, I've been thinking about something. You mentioned wanting to open a daycare someday, right?" "I did. Why?" "What if we made that happen? Not right away, but as a long-term goal. You could get your teaching degree, gain some experience, and then the foundation could help you start your own center. We provide the startup costs, the building, everything. You'd run it, create the programs, make it exactly what you envision." Camille stopped walking. "Adrien, that's a dream. I never thought it could actually happen." "It can. With planning and support, it absolutely can. You have the passion and the knowledge. I have the resources. Together, we could create something really special." Tears filled Camille's eyes. "You believe in me that much?" "I believe in you more than you know." Camille looked away, blinking rapidly. "I don't know what to say. This is overwhelming in the best possible way. Say you'll think about it. Say you'll let me be part of making your dreams come true." "I'll more than think about it." She turned back to him, her expression full of wonder. "I'll start planning it. And yes, I want you to be part of it. I want you to be part of." She trailed off. "Part of what?" Adrien asked softly. "Part of our lives. Amara's and mine. If you want to be." Adrien felt his heart expand. "I can't think of anything I want more." They stood there in the soft evening light, the fountain splashing behind them, Amara's laughter floating on the breeze. Adrien wanted to kiss her. The urge was almost overwhelming. But he held back, not wanting to push too fast. "Adrien?" Camille said quietly. "Yes. I'm glad you walked into that classroom that day. I'm glad you decided to help us. Not just because of the money and support, although that's changed everything. But because I like who I am when I'm around you. I like who we are. I like who we are too." Amara ran back to them, grabbing both their hands. "Can we come back here again? This is my favorite place now." "Anytime you want," Adrien promised, looking at Camille over Amara's head. "Any time at all." As he drove home that night, Adrien called his mother. She still lived in the small town where he'd grown up, refusing to move despite his offers to buy her a mansion anywhere she wanted. "Mom, I think I met someone." "Tell me everything," his mother said, her voice warm with interest. Adrien told her about Camille and Amara, about the classroom, the weeks of getting to know them, the dinner that evening. He talked for 30 minutes straight, barely pausing for breath. When he finished, his mother was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Adrien, you sound happy. Really happy. Not successful or accomplished or satisfied. Happy." "I am, Mom. She's incredible. And Amara is this amazing kid who's been through so much but still has so much joy in her. They're both they're special." "Then don't let them go. Life doesn't give us many chances at real connection. When you find it, you hold on tight." "I plan to. And Adrien? Bring them to visit soon. I want to meet this woman who put that tone in your voice." After hanging up, Adrien sat in his penthouse, looking out at the city lights. Everything had changed in 3 weeks. His priorities, his focus, his understanding of what mattered. Camille and Amara had shown him that all his success meant nothing if he had no one to share it with. He pulled out his phone and sent a text. "Thank you for tonight. Best evening I've had in years." Camille's response came quickly, "Same here. Amara is already asking when we can see you again. What about you? Are you asking the same thing?" There was a longer pause this time. Then, "Yes. I'm asking the same thing." Adrien smiled at his phone like a fool. "How about Monday after school? I could pick you both up and we could get ice cream." "It's a date." "Well, not a date. Just a friend date. Whatever you want to call it, I'm in." He fell asleep that night with a smile on his face, dreaming of brown eyes and a laugh that felt like coming home. Monday afternoon, Adrien picked up Camille and Amara from school. He'd bought a booster seat for his car, which made Amara giggle with delight. They went to a local ice cream shop, and Adrien learned that Camille liked mint chocolate chip, Amara preferred strawberry, and both of them had a sweet tooth that rivaled his own. They sat at a small table outside, eating their ice cream in the warm afternoon sun. Amara chattered about her day at school, and Adrien listened with genuine interest, asking questions and laughing at her animated storytelling. "Mr. Franklin says I'm getting really good at math," Amara announced proudly. "I got 100 on my last test." "That's incredible," Adrien said. "You're so smart. Camille helps me study every night. And I'm not scared anymore. Not like I was with Mrs. Patterson." Adrien and Camille exchanged a look. That name still brought a flash of anger, but it was tempered now by the knowledge that Amara was thriving despite what had happened. "You never have to be scared at school," Camille said firmly. "That's a promise." "I know." Amara finished her ice cream and hopped down from her chair. "Can I go look at the flowers over there?" "Stay where I can see you," Camille said, and Amara skipped off to examine the flower bed near the shop entrance. Camille turned to Adrien. "I enrolled in my first 2 classes today. Child psychology and early childhood education. I start next week." "That's wonderful. How do you feel?" "Terrified and excited in equal measure." She laughed. "I haven't been a student in 6 years. What if I forgot how to study?" "You'll remember. And if you need help, I'm pretty good at studying. I could be your study buddy." "The billionaire is offering to help me with homework?" Camille teased. "The friend is offering to help his friend," Adrien corrected. "No billionaire necessary." Camille's expression softened. "You really don't see yourself that way, do you? As defined by your money?" "Money is a tool. It's not who I am. I'm Adrien, son of a single mother who cleaned houses to feed me. Brother to no one, uncle to no one, friend to very few. Just a guy who got lucky and is trying to do something good with that luck." "You're more than that. You're kind, thoughtful, funny when you want to be. You listen when people talk instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. You see people as people, not as resources or obstacles." Camille reached across the table and touched his hand. "You're a good man, Adrien. The best I know." Adrien turned his hand over and gently held hers. "You make me want to be better. You and Amara both. You've shown me what's truly important." They sat there, hands joined across the table, ice cream melting in the afternoon sun. It was a simple moment, nothing extraordinary, but it felt like everything. "Camille," Adrien said softly, "I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "I think I'm falling for you." Camille's breath caught. "Adrien?" "You don't have to say anything back. I just needed you to know. Being with you feels right in a way nothing else in my life ever has. You've become the person I think about first thing in the morning and last thing at night. You've become everything." Camille's eyes filled with tears. "I'm falling for you too." I've been trying not to, trying to keep it professional, trying to remember that you're this successful billionaire and I'm just amazing. Just strong. Just the woman I want to be with. Adrien squeezed her hand gently. Our circumstances don't matter. What matters is how we feel. I'm scared, Camille admitted. What if this doesn't work? What if I mess it up? What if Amara gets attached and then we'll figure it out together. But Camille, I'm not going anywhere. I told you from the beginning, I'm in this for the long haul. That applies to everything. The foundation support, my friendship with Amara, and what I'm feeling for you. Camille looked over at Amara, who was carefully examining a rose bush, then back at Adrien. Okay, let's do this. Let's see where it goes. Really? Really? But we take it slow for Amara's sake. And if at any point this affects her negatively, we stop and reassess. Agreed. Adrien felt like his heart might burst from his chest. So, we're doing this? We're together? We're together. Camille smiled, and it was like the sun coming out from behind clouds. I can't believe I'm dating a billionaire. You're not dating a billionaire. You're dating me, Adrien. The guy who makes terrible jokes and gets nervous around you and thinks you're the most incredible woman he's ever met. That's a pretty good guy to date, Camille said softly. They called Amara back over, and as they drove home, Adrien felt a completeness he'd never experienced before. He had his company, his foundation, his success. But now he had something infinitely more valuable. A real connection, a real relationship with someone who saw him for who he truly was. That evening, after dropping Camille and Amara at their apartment, Adrien texted his mother, "Mom, I need to buy a ring. Not now, too soon. But eventually. She's the one." His mother's response was immediate. "I knew it the moment you talked about her. Congratulations, son. Your father would be so proud." Adrien's father had died when he was 10, a construction accident that left his mother widowed and struggling. He thought about what his father had told him shortly before he died. Success is good, but love is better. Don't forget that, Adrien. He hadn't forgotten. And now, finally, he understood what his father meant. The next 3 months passed in a blur of happiness. Adrien and Camille spent every available moment together, building their relationship on a foundation of friendship, shared values, and genuine affection. They went on dates when they could find babysitters, but more often they spent time as a trio, taking Amara to museums, parks, and movies. Adrien discovered the joy of family dinners, helping Amara with her homework, and lazy Sunday mornings reading the paper while Camille made pancakes. He learned that Camille sang off-key in the shower, that she was fiercely competitive at board games, and that she cried during sappy commercials. Camille learned that Adrien was terrible at cooking but excellent at ordering takeout, that he had a fear of heights he'd never told anyone about, and that he volunteered at a homeless shelter every Saturday morning before dawn. They learned each other slowly and thoroughly, building something real. At work, Adrien found his focus shifting. He still ran his company with efficiency and skill, but his heart was elsewhere. His assistant, Patricia, noticed the change immediately. "You're distracted," she said one morning, reviewing his schedule. "You missed a conference call yesterday and you've postponed 3 meetings this week." "I know. I'm sorry. I'll do better." Patricia smiled. "I'm not criticizing. I'm observing. You seem lighter, happier. This Camille must be something special." "She is." Adrien couldn't help but smile. "She's everything, Patricia. Her and Amara both." "Then maybe you should start thinking about work-life balance. You've spent 15 years building this company. Maybe it's time to enjoy the fruits of that labor." "You're saying I should step back?" "I'm saying you should make space for your personal life. Hire a COO to handle day-to-day operations. Focus on strategy and the foundation. Spend time with your family." "They're not my family yet," Adrien said quietly. "But you want them to be. More than anything." That evening, Adrien mentioned Patricia's suggestion to Camille over dinner at her apartment. Amara was at a sleepover, leaving them alone for one of the rare times since they'd started dating. "Would you really step back from your company?" Camille asked, surprised. "You built it from nothing." "I did. And I'm proud of it. But Patricia's right. I spent 15 years focused solely on work. Maybe it's time to focus on living." He reached across the table for her hand. "On building a life with you." Camille's eyes widened. "Adrien, that's a big step. We've only been together 3 months." "I know. And I'm not saying I'll do it tomorrow. But I'm thinking about the future. Our future. And I want to make sure I have time for what's truly important. Which is you, Amara. The family I hope we become." Camille was quiet for a long moment. I've been thinking about the future too. About what it means to be with you. And I realize that I love you. Completely. Not because of your money or what you can provide, although I'm grateful for all of that, but because of who you are. You're patient with Amara, kind to everyone you meet, passionate about making the world better. You're the partner I never thought I'd find. Adrien's heart soared. I love you too. I have for weeks, but I was waiting for the right moment to say it. Is this the right moment? Every moment with you is the right moment. They kissed then, a slow, deep kiss that spoke of promises and possibilities. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. So what do we do now? Camille asked. We keep building. We keep growing together. And when the time is right, I'm going to ask you to marry me. You're very confident I'll say yes. Am I wrong? Camille laughed, a joyful sound that filled the small apartment. No, you're not wrong. They spent the rest of the evening talking about dreams and plans. Camille was excelling in her classes, maintaining a perfect grade point average despite her busy schedule. Adrien had started the process of hiring a COO, freeing up his time to focus on the foundation and his personal life. Everything was falling into place. At Adrien's office, his team noticed the change. He was more relaxed, quicker to laugh, more patient with mistakes. During meetings, he spoke more about the foundation's work and less about profit margins. You're different, his CFO, Thomas Reynolds, observed after a board meeting. In a good way. More human, if that makes sense. It makes perfect sense. I'm learning what's important. This woman you're seeing, she must be incredible. She is. And her sister. They've taught me more about life in 3 months than I learned in 35 years. Thomas smiled. Hold on to that. Too many of us lose sight of what matters in the pursuit of success. You're one of the lucky ones who found your way back. But not everything was perfect. A week later, Adrien and Camille faced their first real test. They were at a charity gala, one of the few formal events Camille had agreed to attend. She wore a borrowed dress and felt out of place among the wealthy attendees. Adrien stayed close to her, introducing her to everyone as his girlfriend, making it clear she was important to him. But one woman, Victoria Chin, Adrien's ex-colleague and someone who'd made no secret of her interest in him, was less than welcoming. So you're the teacher's aide, Victoria said, looking Camille up and down. How quaint. I'm also a student and Amara's guardian, Camille replied evenly, though Adrien could feel her tension. Of course. And I'm sure Adrien's generosity has been very helpful with that. The implication was clear, that Camille was with Adrien for his money. Adrien stepped in, his voice cold. Camille is with me because we care about each other. Her worth has nothing to do with my bank account, and everything to do with who she is as a person. Which is something you might want to learn about, Victoria. Victoria's face flushed. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. And now we're done with this conversation. He turned to Camille. Want to get some air? Outside on the terrace, Camille let out a shaky breath. Is that what people think? That I'm after your money? Some people will always think that. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Adrien, I need you to understand something. I would be with you if you had nothing. If you were broke and living in a tiny apartment, I would still love you. Because it's not about what you have. It's about who you are. I know that, Adrien said softly, pulling her into his arms. I've always known that. You're with me for me, not for what I can give you. Anyone who matters knows that too. Do you believe that true love transcends circumstances and social status? Have you ever faced judgment for who you chose to love? This story continues to show how real love overcomes every obstacle when two people are committed to each other. If you're enjoying this journey of love and transformation, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever witnessed a love story like this in your own life? Camille relaxed against him. I just don't want people to think I'm using you. Then we show them the truth. We be ourselves, we love each other, and we don't worry about what others think. He pulled back to look at her. Camille, you're the strongest person I know. Don't let anyone make you doubt yourself. Okay, she said, then smiled. But can we leave this party? I'd much rather be home with Amara, eating popcorn and watching movies. That sounds perfect. Let's go. As they drove back to Camille's apartment, Adrien felt his love for her deepen even more. She didn't want the glamorous life. She didn't care about the parties or the prestige. She wanted simple moments with the people she loved. She wanted what he wanted. When they picked up Amara from her sleepover, the little girl was full of energy, chattering about the games they'd played and the fort they'd built. Back at the apartment, they did exactly what Camille had suggested. Made popcorn, put on a movie, and cuddled together on the couch. Adrien looked down at Amara, who'd fallen asleep against his shoulder, then at Camille, who was curled up on his other side, and felt a wave of contentment wash over him. This was everything. I want this every day, he said softly. Camille looked up at him. What do you mean? This. Coming home to you both. Being a family. I want it all, Camille. Not someday, not eventually. Soon. Adrien? I'm not proposing. Not yet. But I'm telling you what I want. I want us to move in together. I want to be there for Amara's homework and your late-night study sessions. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to build a life, not just visit one. Camille's eyes filled with tears. I want that too. But it's a big step. What about Amara? We'll talk to her first. Make sure she's comfortable. But Camille, she already sees me as family. Last week she introduced me to her friend as her, almost dad. I want to be her actual dad. I want to adopt her if you'll let me. I want to be all in. You want to adopt Amara? If she wants it. If you want it. I know I'm not her biological father, but I love her like she's my own. I want to give her everything. My name, my protection, my love. All of it. Camille started to cry in earnest now. Adrien, that's the most beautiful thing anyone has ever said to me. Is it too much? Am I moving too fast? No. It's perfect. You're perfect. And yes, when the time is right, yes to all of it. Moving in together, adoption, everything. Yes. They kissed over Amara's sleeping head, sealing their promises to each other and to the child they both loved. The next morning, Adrien woke up on Camille's couch, Amara still asleep on his shoulder and Camille curled against his side. His neck was stiff and his arm was numb, but he'd never been happier. This was his family. This was his future. And he'd do whatever it took to protect it. 2 weeks after their conversation about the future, Adrien planned a special evening. He'd arranged for his mother to come to town and babysit Amara, giving him and Camille a rare night alone. The plan was simple. Dinner at the restaurant where they'd had their first real date, followed by a walk through the park. But Adrien's real goal was to tell Camille exactly how deeply he felt, to lay all his cards on the table. He picked her up at 6, his heart racing as she opened the door. She wore a blue dress that complemented her skin beautifully, and her hair was styled in loose curls. She took his breath away. You look stunning, he said. You clean up pretty nice yourself. She smiled, adjusting his tie. Your mom is already here. Amara is showing her all her school projects. Inside, Adrien's mother, Eleanor Carter, was sitting on the floor with Amara, examining a diorama of the solar system. Eleanor looked up as they entered, and her eyes crinkled with warmth. There's my son. And he's right, you do look beautiful, dear. Thank you for watching Amara, Mrs. Carter, Camille said. Please call me Eleanor. And it's my pleasure. We're going to have so much fun, aren't we, Amara? We're going to make cookies, Amara announced. And then we're going to watch a movie. Sounds perfect. Adrien knelt down to hug Amara. Be good for my mom, okay? I'm always good. Adrien laughed. That's true. You're the best. As they drove to the restaurant, Camille said, Your mom is wonderful. I see where you get your kindness from. She's the strongest person I know. She raised me alone after my dad died, worked constantly, never complained. Everything I am is because of her. She raised a good man. At the restaurant, they settled into the same booth they'd sat in months ago. The owner recognized them and sent over a complimentary bottle of wine, which made Camille laugh. Is this what it's like to date someone famous? Free wine and special treatment? I'm not famous. I just come here a lot and tip well. Same thing in the service industry. They ordered their favorite dishes and fell into easy conversation the way they always did. But Adrien felt the weight of what he wanted to say pressing on him. Finally, over dessert, he took a deep breath and reached for her hand. Camille, I need to tell you something. You look serious. Should I be worried? No, not at all. I need you to understand how I feel about you. Really understand it. Camille set down her fork, giving him her full attention. I'm listening. When I walked into that classroom and saw Amara crying, something inside me broke open. I'd spent 15 years building walls, protecting myself, focusing on work because it was safe and predictable. Then I saw this little girl being hurt, and I saw you rush to protect her, and suddenly all those walls crumbled. He squeezed her hand gently. That was just the beginning. Over these past months, you've shown me what it means to really live. Not just exist, not just work and achieve, but to love, to be vulnerable, to be part of something bigger than myself. You've made me a better person, Camille. You and Amara have given my life meaning it never had before. Camille's eyes were shining with unshed tears. Adrien? Wait, let me finish. I love you. Not the casual, easy love that people talk about. I love you with everything I am. You're my first thought in the morning and my last thought at night. You're the reason I smile at my desk in the middle of the day. You're the reason I rearranged my entire life. Because being with you is more important than any meeting, any deal, any success I could achieve. He paused, his voice thick with emotion. You've taught me that real wealth isn't in my bank account. It's in moments like this, in family dinners, in helping Amara with homework, in holding your hand while we watch terrible reality TV. That's the life I want. Not the parties or the prestige. Just you, me, and Amara. Forever. Tears rolled down Camille's cheeks. Adrien, I don't know what to say. Say you feel the same. Say you'll build a life with me. Of course I feel the same. Camille's voice broke. I love you so much it terrifies me sometimes. I never thought I'd find someone who understood me, who saw past the struggle to who I really am. I never thought I'd find someone who would love Amara like she was their own child. She wiped her eyes, smiling through the tears. You came into our lives when we needed help the most. But you didn't just help us practically, you healed us emotionally. You showed Amara that kindness exists in the world. You showed me that it's okay to lean on someone, to accept help, to let someone love me. You changed everything, Adrien. Adrien felt his own eyes getting wet. So where do we go from here? Forward. Together. Wherever that leads. They stood up, and Adrien threw money on the table before pulling Camille into his arms right there in the restaurant. They kissed, deep and full of promise, and the few other diners in the restaurant applauded softly. When they pulled apart, both were laughing through their tears. Come on, Adrien said, taking her hand. Let's go to the park. They walked through the park where they'd spent their first unofficial date months ago, the same fountain splashing in the background. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, and the air was warm with the promise of summer. I want to show you something, Adrien said, leading her to a bench near the fountain. Sit here. Camille sat, curious, and Adrien pulled out his phone. He pulled up a folder of photos. Camille and Amara at the community center, the three of them at the ice cream shop, Amara's school pictures, family dinners, moments captured over the past months. I've been saving these, he said softly. Every moment I could capture. Because I want to remember all of it. The beginning of our family. Camille scrolled through the photos, her expression soft with emotion. We look happy. We are happy. And I want to keep being happy. With you. Always. He knelt down in front of the bench and Camille's breath caught. Adrien, what are you doing? I'm not proposing. Not yet. But I'm making a promise. He took both her hands. I promise to love you and Amara with everything I have. I promise to be there for the big moments and the small ones. I promise to support your dreams and help you achieve them. I promise to be your partner, your friend, your home. And when I do propose, when I ask you to marry me, it will be because I've proven all these promises are true. Camille pulled him up and kissed him. You've already proven them. Every single day. They sat together on the bench, watching the sunset, talking about their dreams for the future. Camille wanted to finish her degree, start her daycare, maybe even write a book someday about early childhood education. Adrien wanted to expand the foundation, spend more time with family, travel to places he'd never made time to visit. Where should we go first? Camille asked. When we travel. Wherever you want. Paris, Tokyo, London. Or we could stay close to home. Take Amara to Disney World, visit the Grand Canyon, road trip across the country. I like the sound of all of it. As long as we're together. As the stars began to appear, Adrien's phone rang. It was his mother. Everything okay? He answered. Everything's perfect. Amara is asleep on the couch, cookies were a success, and I just wanted to let you know there's no rush to come home. Enjoy your evening. Thanks, Mom. We'll be back in an hour. After hanging up, Camille said, Your mom is trying to give us time alone. She likes you. Last week she told me you're the daughter she always wanted. Really? Really? She thinks we're perfect for each other. Your mom is very smart. They stayed in the park until the sky was full of stars, holding each other, making plans, dreaming dreams. And when they finally drove back to Camille's apartment, they found Eleanor asleep in the armchair and Amara curled up on the couch with a blanket. Adrien gently woke his mother. Sorry we were gone so long. Don't be sorry. I enjoyed every minute with that sweet girl. Eleanor hugged Camille. Take care of my son. And let him take care of you. I will, Camille promised. After Eleanor left, Adrien carried Amara to her bed, tucking her in with the care of someone who'd done it 100 times before. Amara stirred sleepily. Adrien? Did you have fun with Camille? I did. Did you have fun with my mom? She's nice. She told me stories about when you were little. Adrien smiled. I bet she did. Go back to sleep, sweetheart. Adrien? Are you going to stay with us forever? His heart clenched. If you want me to. I want you to. I love you. I love you too, Amara. So much. He kissed her forehead and went back to the living room where Camille was waiting. She'd changed into comfortable clothes and was curled up on the couch. She asked if you're staying forever, Adrien told her. What did you say? That I will if she wants me to. And? She wants me to. She said she loves me. Camille's eyes filled with tears again. Adrien, you've become the father she needed. The father I needed her to have. Then that's what I'll be. For both of you. Forever. They held each other on the couch, the apartment quiet around them, the future stretching out bright and full of possibility. Adrien had never felt more certain of anything in his life. This was it. This was everything he'd been searching for without knowing it. Home wasn't a place. It was these two people, this little family they were building together. And he would protect it with everything he had. The next morning, Adrien woke up on Camille's couch to the sound of Amara singing in the kitchen. He sat up, his back slightly sore, and saw Camille making breakfast in sweatpants and an old college t-shirt, her hair in a messy bun. She'd never looked more beautiful to him. Good morning, she said with a smile. Coffee? Please. He stood and stretched, then walked over to kiss her forehead. You didn't have to let me stay the night. I wanted you to. Besides, Amara would have been disappointed if you left. Speaking of which. He glanced toward the kitchen where Amara was arranging plates. We should probably talk to her. About us. About the future. I've been thinking the same thing. Camille poured coffee into a mug and handed it to him. After breakfast? After breakfast. They ate together, pancakes and fruit, easy conversation about the day ahead. Amara had a field trip to the Science Museum, and Camille had a study group for one of her classes. Adrien had meetings all morning but had blocked out the afternoon for foundation work. Normal, everyday life. And it was perfect. After breakfast, while Amara brushed her teeth, Adrien and Camille sat her down in the living room. Sweetie, we want to talk to you about something important, Camille began. Amara's eyes widened. Am I in trouble? No, not at all. Adrien smiled reassuringly. Actually, it's good news. You know how I've been spending a lot of time with you and your sister. Yeah. You're here all the time now. Amara grinned. I like it. I like it too. And I was wondering how you'd feel about me being here even more. Like living here with you guys. Amara's face lit up. Really? You'd live with us. If that's okay with you. I know it's a big change, but I love spending time with you and I love your sister very much. I want us to be a real family. Yes. Amara jumped up and threw her arms around Adrien's neck. I want you to live with us. Can we get a bigger apartment? This one is pretty small. Adrien and Camille laughed. Actually, Adrien said, I was thinking we could get a house. With a yard for you to play in and a big kitchen and a room just for you with space for all your things. And a dog. Amara asked hopefully. And a dog, Adrien agreed, glancing at Camille for confirmation. She nodded, eyes shining. This is the best day ever. Amara hugged both of them. When do we move? Soon, Camille said. We need to find the right house first and pack up all our things. But soon. After Amara left for school, Camille turned to Adrien with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. We're really doing this. Moving in together. We're really doing this. Unless you're having second thoughts. No second thoughts. Just, it's a big step. I want to make sure we're doing it for the right reasons, not just because it's convenient or because Amara wants it. We're doing it because I want to wake up next to you every morning. Because I want to come home to you at night. Because I want to build a life with you starting now. Adrien pulled her close. Because I love you, and I don't want to spend another night apart if I don't have to. Okay then. Let's find a house. Over the next 2 weeks they looked at 15 different houses. Some were too big, some too small, some in the wrong neighborhood. Then they found it. A beautiful 3-bedroom house with a large yard, updated kitchen, and a separate office where Camille could study. It was in a good school district, close to Riverside Elementary, and it felt like home the moment they walked in. This is it, Camille said, standing in the living room. You're sure? Adrien asked. I'm sure. Amara is going to love that yard. And look at this kitchen. I could actually cook real meals here instead of trying to work around one small counter. Then this is it. Adrien called his real estate agent immediately and made an offer. 2 days later it was accepted. The move happened fast. Adrien hired movers to pack and transport everything, which meant Camille and Amara didn't have to lift a finger. Within a week they were settled into the new house, boxes unpacked and furniture arranged. Amara ran through the house that first night, her laughter echoing off the walls. "We live here. This is our house." "Our house," Adrien echoed, feeling the weight and wonder of those words. That night, after Amara was asleep in her new room, Adrien and Camille christened their home with takeout Chinese food and wine, sitting on the floor of the living room because they hadn't bought a dining table yet. "To new beginnings," Camille said, raising her glass. "To family," Adrien countered. They clinked glasses and ate in comfortable silence, the house settling around them. When they finished, Adrien pulled Camille close. "Thank you for letting me be part of this. Part of your life. Thank you for choosing us. For seeing us when we were invisible to everyone else. You were never invisible to me. From the first moment, you were all I could see." They made love that night in their new bedroom, slow and tender, claiming this space as theirs. Afterward, lying in the dark with Camille's head on his chest, Adrien felt complete in a way he never had before. This was home. Not the house, though it was beautiful. Home was the woman in his arms and the little girl sleeping down the hall. Home was the life they were building together, brick by brick, moment by moment. The following weeks fell into a rhythm. Adrien adjusted his work schedule to be home for dinner every night. He helped Amara with homework, read bedtime stories, and played catch in the backyard. Camille excelled in her classes and started to seriously plan her daycare, drawing up business plans and curriculum ideas. On weekends they did family things. Trips to the park, movie nights, Sunday brunches. They adopted a dog, a golden retriever puppy they named Sunny, and Amara was over the moon. But it wasn't all perfect. They had their first real fight 6 weeks after moving in together. It was over something small, whether to host Thanksgiving at their house or go to Eleanor's, but it escalated when both of them were tired and stressed. "You always want to make all the decisions," Camille snapped. "That's not fair. I always ask for your input. Asking isn't the same as actually listening." Adrien felt his frustration rise. "I do listen. But sometimes I have opinions too. Opinions that usually win because you're used to being in charge." They stood in the kitchen, glaring at each other, and Adrien felt the foundation of their relationship shake. But then Amara walked in, saw their faces, and her expression crumpled. "Are you fighting? Are you going to break up?" The fear in her voice stopped both of them cold. Camille immediately knelt down and pulled Amara into a hug. "No, baby. We're not breaking up. Sometimes people who love each other disagree, but that doesn't mean they stop loving each other." "Your sister is right," Adrien said, kneeling down too. "I'm sorry we scared you. Camille and I were just having a disagreement about Thanksgiving. We'll figure it out." "Promise you won't leave?" Amara asked, looking at Adrien with wide, worried eyes. "I promise. I'm not going anywhere, Amara. Ever." After getting Amara settled with a movie, Adrien and Camille went to their room and talked it out. Really talked, not just arguing but listening to each other's concerns. "I'm sorry," Adrien said. "You're right. Sometimes I do just assume my way is right because I'm used to running things. But this is our family, not my company. We make decisions together. And I'm sorry for snapping at you. I think I'm just stressed about school and worried about proving I can do this, be a student and a mother and a partner. You're doing all of it beautifully. And we're a team. That means when one of us is struggling, the other picks up the slack. No judgment, no resentment. Just support." "Okay. Team." Camille smiled. "So where should we do Thanksgiving? What do you want?" "Honestly, I want to host it here. I want to cook in our kitchen and have everyone at our table. But I also know your mom would love to host. Then let's compromise. We'll do Thanksgiving here and we'll spend Christmas at my mom's. And next year we'll switch." "That works for me." They kissed, making up properly, and when they emerged from their room, Amara visibly relaxed. "You're okay now?" "We're okay," Camille assured her. "Better than okay." That night, lying in bed, Adrien said, "That was our first real fight." "I know. How do you feel about it?" "Good, actually. We worked through it. We didn't let it fester or blame each other. We solved the problem together." "I feel good about it too. It means we can handle disagreements. That we're strong enough to weather the hard moments. We are. Because what we have is real. It's not perfect, but it's real and it's ours." Camille snuggled closer. "I love our life, Adrien. The good parts and the imperfect parts. All of it." "Me too. And I can't wait to see what comes next." What came next was Thanksgiving with Adrien's mother, Camille's aunt and uncle who she hadn't seen in months, and a few close friends. The house was full of laughter and food and warmth. Adrien carved the turkey, Camille showed off her cooking skills, and Amara told everyone who would listen about her new puppy and her almost dad. That phrase caught Eleanor's attention. Later, while washing dishes, she pulled Adrien aside. Almost dad. That's what Amara calls me. I guess that's what I am right now. When are you going to make it official? Marriage, adoption, all of it. Soon, Mom. I'm planning the proposal for next month. I want it to be perfect. Eleanor smiled. It will be perfect because it's you and Camille. That woman loves you with her whole heart and you love her the same way. Don't wait too long, son. When you know, you know. I know, Mom. I've known since the day I met her. Then make it official. Give yourself and that little girl the family you both deserve. As the evening wound down and guests left, Adrien stood in the doorway of Amara's room, watching Camille tuck her in. This was his family. These were his people. And soon, very soon, he'd make it permanent. He'd started designing a ring 2 weeks ago, working with a jeweler to create something perfect for Camille. Simple but elegant, meaningful but not ostentatious. The proposal would be at Riverside Elementary, in the classroom where they'd met, surrounded by the community they'd built together. It would be perfect. Just like she was. Just like they were together. December arrived with cold air and holiday cheer. Adrien had finalized his plan for the proposal, working with Mrs. Henderson to arrange access to Riverside Elementary after hours. He'd invited key people from their journey, teachers from the school, foundation staff, families they'd helped, and of course Eleanor. But first he needed Amara's blessing. One Saturday morning while Camille was at her study group, Adrien took Amara out for lunch at her favorite burger place. They settled into a booth and after they'd ordered, Adrien took a deep breath. Amara, I want to talk to you about something important. Amara looked up from her coloring page. What is it? You know how much I love you and your sister, right? Yeah. You tell us all the time. Good. Because I want to make sure you know it's true. You and Camille are the most important people in my life. He paused. I want to ask Camille to marry me. Amara's eyes went wide. Really? You're going to marry her? If she says yes. But I wanted to ask you first if that's okay with you. Because if I marry Camille, I'll become your stepdad officially. Well, I want to adopt you, actually make you my daughter for real. But only if you want that. Tears filled Amara's eyes. You want to be my dad? More than anything. But this is your choice too, Amara. This affects your life as much as mine and Camille's. So I need to know, is this what you want? Amara launched herself across the table and hugged him so hard he almost fell backward. Yes, yes, yes. I want you to be my dad. I've been wishing for it every night. Adrien's eyes got wet. He'd never expected to feel this way about a child who wasn't biologically his, but Amara had become his daughter in every way that mattered. He loved her with a fierce protectiveness that surprised him with its intensity. Then I have a question for you, he said, pulling back to look at her. Will you help me propose? I have a plan, but I need you to be part of it. What do I have to do? Adrien explained his vision. The proposal at Riverside Elementary in Camille's old classroom, surrounded by people who'd been part of their journey. He wanted Amara to be the one to bring Camille into the room, holding a sign that would ask the big question. I love it, Amara said, bouncing in her seat. When? 2 weeks from today. That gives us time to prepare and for me to get everything ready. But you can't tell Camille. It has to be a surprise. I promise I won't tell. Cross my heart. Amara made the gesture seriously. Adrien, are we going to be a real family? We already are a real family. The wedding and adoption will just make it official. That evening, after Camille came home and Amara was in bed, Adrien sat with his future fiancée on the couch, Sunny curled up at their feet. He held her hand, thinking about the ring hidden in his office, the plans coming together, the future just 2 weeks away. What are you thinking about? Camille asked. You have that look. What look? The one where you're planning something. I've learned to recognize it. I'm just thinking about how much my life has changed in the past 6 months. How happy I am. Me too. Camille leaned her head on his shoulder. I've been thinking about finishing my degree in the spring. I'll have all my credits and then I can start working on opening the daycare. That's wonderful. Have you thought more about where you want to locate it? Actually, I was thinking maybe we could renovate the community center, add a wing specifically for the daycare. That way it would be part of the foundation's larger mission, serving families who need quality childcare but can't afford the expensive centers. Adrien's heart swelled with pride. That's brilliant. Let me talk to the architects next week. We can start drawing up plans. You're always supporting my dreams. How can I ever repay you? By being exactly who you are. That's all I've ever wanted. He kissed her forehead. You don't owe me anything, Camille. Everything I do is because I want to, because seeing you succeed brings me more joy than anything else. I love you so much, she whispered. I love you too. More than I ever thought possible. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of secret preparations. Adrien coordinated with Mrs. Henderson to decorate Camille's old classroom. He invited guests, telling them to arrive early and hide in the library. He picked up the ring from the jeweler, a beautiful sapphire surrounded by small diamonds, Camille's favorite color instead of the traditional diamond. Eleanor came to town 3 days before the proposal to help with final preparations. She met Adrien and Amara for lunch to go over the plan one more time. You're sure Camille has no idea? Eleanor asked. No clue. She thinks we're just going to the school for a normal foundation check-in. Adrien smiled. Amara has been amazing at keeping the secret. It's so hard, Amara confessed. Sometimes I almost tell her, but then I remember it's a surprise. You're doing great, sweetheart, Eleanor said. Your sister is going to be so happy. The day before the proposal, Adrien was a nervous wreck. He checked and rechecked every detail, called Mrs. Henderson 4 times to confirm everything was ready, and drove past Riverside Elementary twice just to make sure the building would be accessible. That night, lying next to Camille, he couldn't sleep. She stirred beside him. What's wrong? You're restless. Sorry? Didn't mean to wake you. Big day tomorrow? Yeah. Important meeting. That wasn't a lie exactly. Camille propped herself up on one elbow. Adrien, is everything okay? You seem tense lately. Everything's perfect. Better than perfect. I'm just excited about some things coming up. Like what? Can't tell you yet. But soon. Very soon. She studied his face in the moonlight coming through the window. You're keeping secrets from me. Good secrets. The best kind. Trust me? Always. They fell back asleep eventually, and Adrien dreamed of sapphires and classrooms and new beginnings. The next day arrived with perfect weather. Clear skies, mild temperature, the kind of day that felt ordained by fate. Adrien told Camille they needed to stop by Riverside Elementary to check on some new equipment the foundation had installed. She didn't question it, used to his foundation work by now. Amara rode with Eleanor, who was supposedly taking her to see a movie but would actually bring her to the school. Everything was moving according to plan. At the school, Adrien led Camille through the familiar hallways. Mrs. Henderson wanted to show us the new computers in person, he explained. That's fine. It's nice to be back here anyway. This place will always be special to us. It really will be. They reached Camille's old classroom and Adrien opened the door. Actually, I wanted to show you something in here first. The room was transformed. White lights were strung around the ceiling, photos of Adrien, Camille, and Amara lined the walls, and flowers filled every available surface. In the center of the room stood a group of people. Mrs. Henderson, Mr. Franklin, Dr. Williams, several families from the foundation programs, foundation staff, and friends. And there, at the front, stood Amara in her green dress, holding a large sign that read, Camille, will you help Adrien ask you something? Camille's hand flew to her mouth. What is this? Adrien took her hand and led her to the center of the room. This is where we met. Right here in this classroom. I walked through that door and saw you protecting Amara, and something in me knew my life had just changed forever. He gestured at the photos on the walls. These are the moments we've built together. The family we've created. The love we've grown. Adrien knelt down, pulling the ring box from his pocket. Camille started crying immediately. Camille Johnson, you are the strongest, kindest, most incredible woman I've ever known. You took a tragedy and turned it into love. You raised Amara with grace and dignity despite impossible circumstances. You saw past my money and status to the person underneath. You made me understand what truly matters in life. He opened the box, revealing the sapphire ring. I love you with everything I am. I want to spend every day for the rest of my life showing you that love, supporting your dreams, and being the partner you deserve. Will you marry me? Camille was crying too hard to speak at first. She nodded, tears streaming down her face, and finally choked out, Yes. Yes, Adrien, I'll marry you. The room erupted in applause as Adrien slid the ring onto her finger and stood to kiss her. When they pulled apart, Amara ran over and hugged both of them. You said yes, Amara said happily. Now we're really a family. We've always been a family, Camille said, pulling her sister close. But yes, now it's official. Adrien knelt down to Amara's level. And I have one more question. For you, Amara. I'd like to adopt you, make you my daughter legally. What do you say? Yes, Amara said immediately. I want to be your daughter. Can I call you Dad now? You can call me whatever feels right to you. Then I'll call you Dad. Because that's what you are. The three of them hugged, creating a tight circle of love, while everyone around them clapped and cried and celebrated. Later, after cake and toasts and hundreds of photos, after all the guests had left and they'd driven home with Amara chattering excitedly about wedding plans in the back seat, Adrien and Camille finally had a moment alone. They stood in their bedroom, the ring sparkling on Camille's finger. I can't believe you did all that, she said. It was perfect. You're perfect. I just tried to create a moment worthy of you. Adrien, when I was 24 and suddenly had to raise Amara, I thought my life was over. I thought all my dreams were gone, that I'd never have time for love or marriage or any of the things I'd imagined for myself. But you gave all of that back to me. You gave me more than I ever dreamed possible. You gave me something too. A purpose beyond work. A family. A reason to wake up every morning with joy instead of just obligation. They kissed, deep and full of promise, the future stretching ahead bright and certain. When should we get married? Camille asked. Tomorrow if you want. Or we can plan something bigger. Whatever you want, that's what we'll do. Something medium. Family and close friends. Maybe in the spring? Give us time to plan but not so long that I lose patience. Adrien laughed. Spring it is. And then we'll start the adoption process for Amara. Our daughter, Camille said, testing the words. Our daughter, Adrien echoed. That night, they told Amara they'd be getting married in the spring, and she immediately started planning. She wanted to be the flower girl and help pick out Camille's dress and make sure Sunny was in the wedding too. As Adrien lay in bed that night, his fiancée beside him and his future daughter sleeping down the hall, he thought about the journey that had brought him here. A chance visit to a school. A little girl crying. A young woman showing fierce protective love. All the moments that had aligned perfectly to create this life. Some people might call it fate or destiny. Adrien called it grace. The grace of second chances, of love finding a way, of broken pieces coming together to create something beautiful. And he was grateful for every single moment. The months between the proposal and the wedding passed in a whirlwind of planning, joy, and anticipation. Camille finished her final semester with perfect grades, earning her degree in early childhood education. The graduation ceremony was small but meaningful, with Adrien and Amara cheering loudly when Camille's name was called. I'm so proud of you, Adrien said afterward, pulling her into a tight hug. Dr. Williams would love to hire you at the Foundation's new education center if you're interested. I am. But I also want to start working on the daycare plans. Can I do both? You can do anything you set your mind to. The daycare project moved forward quickly. Architects designed an addition to the community center that would house 12 classrooms, a large play area, and administrative offices. Camille worked with early childhood specialists to develop curriculum, and they planned to open in the fall, just a few months after the wedding. Meanwhile, the adoption process for Amara began. Lawyers filed paperwork, judges reviewed the case, and everyone agreed that Adrien adopting Amara was in her best interest. The final hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks before the wedding. Adrien had never been more nervous than the day they went to court. He wore his best navy suit, and Camille wore a blue dress. Amara, now 9 years old and growing more confident every day, wore a pretty red outfit and held both their hands as they entered the courtroom. The judge, a kind-faced woman named Judge Patterson, reviewed the paperwork and asked Amara a few questions. Amara, do you understand what adoption means? Yes, ma'am. It means Adrien will be my legal dad. And is that what you want? More than anything. He's already my dad in my heart. This just makes it official. The judge smiled. Mr. Carter, do you understand the lifelong commitment you're making? I do, Your Honor. I love Amara as if she were my biological daughter. I will provide for her, protect her, and support her in every way possible. She's my daughter in every sense that matters, and I'm honored to make it legal. Then I see no reason to delay. I hereby grant the adoption. Mr. Carter, you are now Amara's legal father. She banged her gavel. Congratulations to your family. Amara threw her arms around Adrien's neck. You're my dad. My real dad. I've always been your real dad, sweetheart. Now everyone knows it. They celebrated with lunch at Amara's favorite restaurant, and that evening Adrien officially changed Amara's last name to Carter. Amara Carter. Their daughter. Wedding planning took up any free time they had. Camille wanted something elegant but not ostentatious, meaningful but not overly formal. They decided on a ceremony at the community center Adrien had built. The the same place where they'd spent their first real day together outside the school. Eleanor helped with decorations, insisting on fresh flowers and bright colors. No black, no dark colors. This is a celebration of life and love. It should be bright and joyful. Camille chose a simple white dress that made her look radiant. Amara would wear green, Eleanor wore maroon, and Adrien selected a navy suit. The color scheme came together beautifully. 2 weeks before the wedding, they sent out invitations to their small guest list. Family, close friends, colleagues from the foundation, teachers from Riverside Elementary, and a few of the families they'd helped over the past year. It would be intimate, about 75 people, exactly what they wanted. But 3 days before the wedding, something unexpected happened. A journalist from a major newspaper called Adrien, wanting to do a story on his foundation work. Someone had tipped them off about Adrien's upcoming wedding to a woman he'd met while helping her family, and they thought it would make an inspiring human interest piece. Adrien's first instinct was to refuse. His relationship with Camille wasn't a publicity stunt. But the journalist explained that the story would focus on the foundation's impact, using their love story as an example of how personal connections drive meaningful change. Adrien discussed it with Camille that evening. "I'll say no if you're uncomfortable. This is our private life." Camille thought about it. What if the story could help other families? What if reading about how the foundation helped us inspires people to either donate or seek help themselves? "That's a good point. But I don't want you to feel pressured." "I don't. I think we should do it. Our story is real. If sharing it helps others, that's a good thing." They agreed to a short interview after the wedding, and the journalist promised to focus on the foundation's work rather than sensationalizing their personal life. The night before the wedding, Adrien stayed at his mother's house per tradition, giving Camille and Amara time alone. He couldn't sleep, his mind racing with anticipation and joy. Eleanor found him sitting in the kitchen at 2 in the morning. Nervous? Not nervous. Excited. Eager for tomorrow to get here so I can start the rest of my life. Your father would be so proud of you. Not because of your success or your money, but because you've built a real life. You've created a family. That's what he always wanted for you. I wish he could have met them. Camille and Amara. He would have loved them. I think he knows. Wherever he is, I think he knows you're happy. They sat together in comfortable silence, mother and son, reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this moment. The wedding day arrived with perfect spring weather. The community center was transformed with flowers, lights, and joy. Guests began arriving at 3 in the afternoon for the 4 o'clock ceremony. Adrien stood at the front with his best man, his CFO Thomas, trying not to pace. He'd seen Camille that morning for a quick kiss before she'd left to get ready, but these few hours apart felt like an eternity. The music started, and his mother walked down the aisle, taking her seat in the front row. Then came Amara, carrying a basket of flower petals and wearing the biggest smile Adrien had ever seen. She walked carefully, scattering petals, and when she reached the front, she winked at Adrien. "She looks beautiful, Dad." "Dad." The word still made his heart swell every time. Then the music changed to the wedding march, and Camille appeared at the entrance. She was breathtaking. Her white dress was simple but elegant, her natural hair styled in loose curls with small flowers woven through. She carried a bouquet of colorful flowers, and her smile was radiant with happiness. She walked down the aisle alone, strong and independent, choosing to give herself away rather than be given by someone else. When she reached Adrien, he took her hand and whispered, "You're stunning." "You're not bad yourself," she whispered back. The ceremony was personal and meaningful. They'd written their own vows, promising to support each other's dreams, to be partners in every sense, to love not just in the easy moments but in the hard ones too. When Adrien said his vows, his voice was thick with emotion. "Camille, you taught me what love really means. Not the fairy tale version but the real, everyday kind of love that shows up even when it's hard. You taught me that family isn't about biology, it's about choice and commitment. You gave me a daughter, a partner, a reason to be better. I promise to spend every day proving I'm worthy of the gift you've given me." Camille's vows were equally moving. "Adrien, you walked into our lives when we needed help the most. But you didn't just help us practically, you helped us heal. You showed Amara that the world has good people in it. You showed me that it's okay to let someone in, to accept love, to build something beautiful from broken pieces. I promise to be your partner in every adventure, your support in every challenge, and your love for all time." When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the room erupted in applause. Adrien kissed Camille deeply, sealing their promises, and when they turned to face their guests, Amara rushed forward to hug them both. "We're a family," she said happily. "A real, forever family." We are, Adrien agreed, picking her up even though she was getting too big for it. The best family in the world. The reception was joyful and relaxed. They ate good food, danced to music that ranged from classical to contemporary, and celebrated with people who truly cared about them. Eleanor gave a toast that made everyone cry, talking about how Adrien had finally found what he'd been searching for without knowing it. Camille's aunt and uncle flew in from across the country, and seeing them reconnect with Camille and Amara brought tears to Adrien's eyes. Family wasn't just the one you built, it was also the one you healed and reconnected with. Late in the evening, Adrien and Camille snuck away for a quiet moment on the terrace outside the community center. The party continued inside, but they needed a moment just for them. "How do you feel, Mrs. Carter?" Adrien asked, pulling her close. "Like the luckiest woman alive." "How about you, Mr. Carter?" "Like I've finally found home." They stood there, holding each other under the stars, the sound of celebration drifting through the windows. A year ago, Adrien had been successful but lonely. Now he had everything: a wife, a daughter, a purpose, a real life worth living. "What are you thinking about?" Camille asked. "About how one moment can change everything. Walking into that classroom, seeing Amara crying, meeting you. If I'd gone to the school the next week like I'd originally planned, none of this would have happened. Maybe it would have. Maybe we were always meant to find each other. I like that idea. Destiny bringing us together. Not destiny. Well, kindness. The things that really matter." Camille looked up at him. "You gave us those things when we needed them most. Now we get to build a whole life on that foundation." "A beautiful life," Adrien said, kissing her forehead. "The best life." They rejoined the party and danced until midnight, surrounded by love and laughter. When it was finally time to leave, Amara was asleep on Eleanor's lap, worn out from the excitement. Adrien carried his daughter to the car while Camille said goodbye to the last few guests. As they drove home, Amara between them in the back seat, Adrien felt a completeness that defied description. This was it. This was everything. This was home. 6 months after the wedding, the Carter family had settled into a beautiful rhythm. Camille's daycare opened to overwhelming demand, quickly filling all 12 classrooms with children from families who couldn't afford traditional childcare. She loved her work, arriving early every morning to greet families and spending her days nurturing young minds. Adrien had officially stepped back from day-to-day operations of his company, hiring an excellent COO and serving primarily in an advisory role. This gave him time to focus on the foundation, which had expanded to include education programs in 15 cities. But more importantly, it gave him time for family. He was there for Amara's soccer games, her school plays, and her science fair projects. He helped with homework, attended parent-teacher conferences, and never missed a bedtime story. He was a father in every sense of the word, and he loved every minute of it. On a Saturday morning in early fall, Adrien woke up to sunlight streaming through the bedroom windows and Sunny's cold nose pressed against his arm. Camille was still asleep beside him, her hair spread across the pillow. He got up quietly and went downstairs to start coffee. Amara was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with her homework. Now 10 years old, she was becoming more independent but still loved spending time with her parents. "Morning, Dad," she said without looking up. "Morning, sweetheart. You're up early." "Soccer practice at 9. I wanted to finish my math first." Adrien smiled. His daughter was responsible, kind, and confident. The scared little girl he'd met in that classroom was gone, replaced by this strong young person who knew she was loved and valued. He made coffee and started on breakfast, pancakes with chocolate chips because it was the weekend. Camille came down a few minutes later, drawn by the smell of coffee. "Morning," she said, kissing Adrien and then ruffling Amara's hair. "What's the plan for today?" "Soccer practice at 9, then I thought we could go to the farmer's market," Adrien suggested. "Maybe grab lunch downtown." "Perfect. Normal family Saturday." Normal. That word had become Adrien's favorite. Not extraordinary or exceptional, just normal. A regular family doing regular things. After a lifetime of striving for more, bigger, better, he'd found happiness in the everyday moments. After breakfast, they piled into the car and drove to Amara's soccer practice. Adrien stood on the sidelines with the other parents, cheering when Amara scored a goal, consoling her when she missed a pass. Just another dad at a kid's soccer game, and it was the best role he'd ever played. At the farmer's market, they wandered through stalls selling fresh produce, homemade bread, and local honey. Camille bought vegetables for the week, Amara convinced them to get fresh donuts, and Adrien picked out flowers for their dining table. They ran into Mrs. Henderson and Mr. Franklin, who were also shopping. The greetings were warm, full of genuine affection. Riverside Elementary had become one of the top-performing schools in the district, and both teachers credited the foundation's support for making it possible. "Amara, you've grown so much," Mrs. Henderson said. "How's 5th grade treating you?" "It's great. I love my teacher and I made the advanced math class." "That's wonderful. Your parents must be very proud." "We are," Camille said, squeezing Amara's shoulder. After the market, they had lunch at a casual restaurant, sitting outside in the warm fall sunshine. They talked and laughed, making plans for Amara's upcoming birthday and discussing the possibility of a vacation over winter break. "Where should we go?" Adrien asked. "Beach? Mountains? Europe? Disney World?" Amara said immediately. "I've always wanted to go." "Then Disney World it is," Camille agreed. "We'll make it a family adventure." As they walked back to the car, Amara ran ahead to look in a bookstore window. Adrien took Camille's hand. "Can you believe this is our life now?" he asked. "Sometimes I have to pinch myself. A year and a half ago I was working 3 jobs and barely surviving. Now I run a successful daycare, I'm married to an amazing man, and Amara is thriving. It feels like a dream. It's real. All of it. And it's only going to get better." That evening, after Amara went to bed, Adrien and Camille sat on their back porch watching the sun set. Sunny lay at their feet and the neighborhood was quiet and peaceful. "I have some news," Camille said, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Good news?" "The best news. The daycare is doing so well that we're getting requests to open more locations. The foundation board wants to expand to 3 more cities next year." "That's incredible. You've built something really special, Camille." "We've built it together. Your foundation provided the resources. I just turned them into reality. You did more than that. You created a model that works, a program that actually helps families. You should be proud." "I am. But I'm also thinking about the future. What comes after the daycare expansion?" Adrien looked at her curiously. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm happy, Adrien. Happier than I ever thought possible. But I keep thinking there's something missing. One more piece that would make our family complete." Understanding dawned on Adrien's face. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Camille nodded, her eyes bright. "I think I want to have a baby. Our baby. What do you think?" Adrien's heart soared. He pulled her close and kissed her deeply. "I think that sounds perfect. I'd love to have a baby with you." "Really? You're not just saying that because I want it." "Really? I've been thinking about it too but didn't want to pressure you. You've had so much on your plate with school and the daycare. But if you're ready, I'm absolutely ready." They talked late into the night about timing, about how they'd manage with Camille's work and Amara's activities, about hopes and dreams for a new addition to their family. By the time they went to bed, they'd decided to start trying in the spring, giving Camille time to get the daycare expansion underway first. The next morning they told Amara over breakfast. "How would you feel about being a big sister?" Camille asked. Amara's eyes went wide. "Really? You're going to have a baby?" "We're going to try. It might take some time but yes, we'd like to give you a little brother or sister." "I would love that." Amara jumped up and hugged them both. "This is the best news ever." "Can it be a sister?" "I want to teach her everything." "We can't control that part," Adrien said with a laugh. "But whether it's a boy or a girl, they'll be lucky to have you as a big sister." Over the next few months, life continued its beautiful, normal rhythm. The daycare expansion moved forward, Adrien's foundation won several awards for its education work, and Amara excelled in school and sports. In April, Camille took a pregnancy test and saw 2 pink lines. She was pregnant. She told Adrien that evening by showing him a pair of tiny baby shoes. He understood immediately, picking her up and spinning her around in joy. "We're having a baby," he said, his voice full of wonder. "We're having a baby," Camille confirmed. They told Amara together and her excitement was contagious. She immediately started planning, talking about how she'd help with feedings and diaper changes, how she'd teach the baby to read, how they'd play together. The pregnancy progressed smoothly. Camille experienced morning sickness in the first trimester but otherwise felt good. Adrien was attentive and caring, making sure she rested, bringing her cravings and going to every doctor's appointment. At the 20-week ultrasound they learned they were having a girl. Amara was thrilled, already planning matching outfits and sister activities. They decorated the nursery in soft yellows and greens, keeping it bright and cheerful. Eleanor came to visit every few weeks, knitting blankets and tiny sweaters. The whole family prepared for the new arrival with joy and anticipation. In early December, on a snowy evening, Camille went into labor. Adrien drove carefully to the hospital, Amara in the back seat with Eleanor, everyone excited and nervous. Labor lasted 8 hours. Adrien never left Camille's side, holding her hand, encouraging her, telling her how strong and incredible she was. When their daughter finally arrived, tiny and perfect, with a head full of dark hair, both parents cried. "She's beautiful," Camille whispered, holding their daughter for the first time. "She's perfect," Adrien agreed. "Just like her mother." They named her Hope Eleanor Carter. Hope for the second chance they'd all been given, Eleanor for Adrien's mother who'd supported them through everything. When Amara met her sister for the first time, she held her carefully, looking down at the tiny baby with pure love. "I hope. I'm your big sister. I'm going to take care of you and teach you everything. We're going to be best friends." Adrien watched his family, his heart so full it felt like it might burst. 2.5 years ago he'd been alone in a penthouse, successful but empty. Now he had a wife, 2 daughters, a mother, extended family, and a life full of meaning and purpose. Camille looked up at him, their newborn daughter in her arms, Amara pressed close to her side. "What are you thinking?" "That I'm the luckiest man alive. That walking into that classroom was the best thing that ever happened to me. That you and our girls are everything." "We're pretty lucky too," Camille said softly. "You gave us a life we never dreamed was possible. We gave each other that life. All of us together." A week later, they brought Hope home to the house that had become filled with love and laughter. Sonny investigated the baby carefully, then curled up near the nursery as if assuming guard duty. Amara helped with everything, eager to prove she was a good big sister. One evening, a month after Hope's birth, the whole family sat in the living room. Camille was nursing the baby, Amara was doing homework on the floor, and Adrien was reading a report from the foundation. Sonny was asleep by the fireplace. It was ordinary. Simple. Nothing extraordinary was happening. But it was everything. Adrien looked around at his family and thought about the journey that had brought them here. A little girl crying. A woman's fierce protective love. A moment of decision to step in and help. All the small choices that had built this life, piece by piece. He thought about the article that had run in the newspaper after the wedding. It had brought attention to the foundation, yes, but more importantly, it had inspired others. They'd received hundreds of messages from people who'd been moved by their story, who'd decided to help children in need, who'd donated or volunteered or simply been kinder to those around them. That's what love did. It rippled outward, touching more people than you could ever know, creating change in ways both big and small. "Dad," Amara said, looking up from her homework. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm writing an essay about someone who changed my life. Can I write about you?" Adrien felt his throat tighten with emotion. "You can write about whoever you want. I want to write about you. About how you came to my school and saw me crying and decided to help. About how you became my dad and made our family complete. Is that okay?" "That's more than okay. But Amara, you should know something. You and your sisters changed my life just as much as I changed yours. Maybe more." "Really? Really? Before I met you and Camille I had success but I didn't have purpose. I had money but I didn't have meaning. You gave me all of that. You taught me what's truly important. Family. Love. Kindness. Hope. Those are the things that matter." Amara smiled. "Then I'll write about how we changed each other. How we became a family." "That sounds perfect." Later that night, after both girls were asleep and the house was quiet, Adrien and Camille stood in the nursery, watching Hope sleep in her crib. "She's going to have such a good life," Camille whispered. "She'll never know what it's like to struggle or worry about basic needs. She'll grow up surrounded by love and opportunity. Just like Amara is now. Just like any child should." "We did that, Adrien. We built this beautiful life. We did. And we're going to keep building it. Keep making it better. Keep spreading that love and hope to others who need it." They stood there together, partners in every sense, looking at their sleeping daughter and thinking about their older daughter down the hall and the life they'd created together. It had started with a little girl's tears and a man's decision to help. But it had grown into something so much bigger. A family. A foundation that helped thousands. A love story that inspired others. A reminder that kindness, hope, and love really could change everything. And as Adrien Carter stood there with his wife beside him and his daughters sleeping nearby, he knew with absolute certainty that he was exactly where he was meant to be. Home. Finally, truly, perfectly home. 5 years later. Adrien Carter stood at the podium in the grand ballroom of the city's convention center. 500 people sat before him, attending the annual gala for the Carter Foundation. The foundation had grown exponentially in the past 7 years, now operating in 30 cities and helping tens of thousands of children and families annually. But tonight wasn't about statistics or success stories. Tonight was about gratitude. When I started this foundation, Adrien began, his voice steady and warm, I thought I knew what mattered. I thought changing the world meant big gestures, major donations, sweeping reforms. And while those things are important, I've learned that real change happens in the small moments. In seeing a child who needs help and deciding to step in. In building relationships, not just writing checks. In understanding that we're all connected, and that helping others is how we help ourselves. He paused, looking out at the audience. In the front row sat Camille, beautiful in a green dress, holding 3-year-old Hope. Beside her was Amara, now 15 and confident, wearing a red dress she'd picked out herself. His mother Eleanor sat on Camille's other side, beaming with pride. 7 years ago, I walked into a classroom and witnessed something that broke my heart. A little girl was being humiliated for circumstances beyond her control. I decided to help. What I didn't know was that decision would change my life completely. He looked directly at Camille. That little girl became my daughter. Her sister became my wife. Together they showed me what truly matters. Love, family, kindness, hope. Those are the values this foundation was built on, and those are the values we'll continue to champion. The speech continued for another 10 minutes, discussing the foundation's work, thanking donors and volunteers, and outlining future plans. When he finished, the applause was thunderous. But the best part came later, when the event ended and the Carter family drove home together. Hope fell asleep in her car seat, Amara scrolled through her phone in the back, and Camille held Adrien's hand across the center console. You gave a beautiful speech, Camille said. I meant every word. When they got home, Adrien carried Hope upstairs while Camille helped Amara with last-minute homework. Later, when both girls were in bed and the house was quiet, Adrien and Camille sat on their back porch, just like they'd done countless times before. Do you ever think about that day? Camille asked. When you walked into the classroom? All the time. It was the day my real life started. Mine too. They sat in comfortable silence, thinking about the journey that had brought them here. The struggles, the joy, the love, the growth. Everything that had transformed them from broken individuals into a strong, united family. I have something to tell you, Camille said suddenly. Adrien looked at her, concerned by her serious tone. What is it? I'm pregnant again. Joy flooded through Adrien. Really? Really? I found out yesterday. I wanted to tell you here, where we've had so many important conversations. Adrien pulled her into his arms and held her tight. I love you so much. I love you too. And I'm grateful every single day for that moment when you walked into the classroom. When you decided to help instead of looking away. Best decision I ever made. And as they sat there under the stars, planning for their growing family and reflecting on how far they'd come, both knew that their story was far from over. It was just beginning, actually. Every day brought new moments to cherish, new challenges to face together, new opportunities to spread the love and hope that had saved them both. Kindness, hope, and love had led them to each other. And those same values would continue to guide them forward, creating ripples of positive change that extended far beyond their small family. Because that's what love does. It transforms. It heals. It changes everything. And for the Carter family, it had changed everything for the better. Forever.